18 acres of coastal earth, and none of it feels like home anymore. Eleanor stands at the fence line before sunrise, wrapped in her late husband's flannel jacket, the sleeves too long for her hands. Thomas built this farm with his own hands, board by board, season by season. Now the soil is grey and tired, cracked in long fissures that run the length of the north field, much like she is. 3 months since the funeral. 3 months of silence where his boots used to sit by the door. She walks the rows anyway, out of habit, or maybe hope she hasn't quite buried yet. The wind carries salt from the bay, cool and steady. An answer is waiting out there, somewhere past the fence line. She just doesn't know it yet. Harold's truck rattles up the gravel drive before she's finished her coffee. "Tired ground doesn't come back, Eleanor," he says, kicking at dust that used to be soil, his voice gentle but certain. He means well. Everyone means well these days. The soil test results sit folded on her kitchen table. No organic matter left. Nothing alive down there anymore. The numbers all wrong. A developer's offer waits in the drawer beside it. Good money. Easy money, the kind that would let her walk away and never look back. "I'm not selling," she tells him, quiet but firm. She doesn't know how she'll fix 18 acres of dead earth. She only knows she isn't ready to let it go, not yet, not like this. 4:47 in the morning, Harlow's Point Fish Market, where the boats come in long before the gulls wake up. Eleanor isn't here for fish. A fisherman mentioned it in passing weeks ago. Mountains of discarded oyster shell, dumped and forgotten behind the processing sheds, more than anyone could ever haul away. She climbs one now, shell fragments crunching under her boots, catching the first grey lights spilling over the water. Calcium, minerals, everything her dead soil has been starving for, piled up here as waste that nobody wants and nobody's coming back for. If you've ever found value in something the world had already thrown away, in a person, in a place, or even in yourself, you already understand exactly what she's feeling standing on this pile at dawn. If this story means something to you, this is a good moment to hit subscribe and stay with her journey, because it's really just getting started. She picks up a single shell and turns it over slowly in her palm, like it's made of something precious. The dock manager, a weathered man named Gus, laughs when she asks. "Take all you want, lady," he says. "Saves us the haul anyway. A handshake, nothing more, no contract, no fee, just an old farm woman and mountains of forgotten shell stretching out under the morning sky." She backs her pickup up to the pile and starts shoveling. Her shoulders ache by the third load, her palms raw and stinging with salt, but something in her chest feels lighter with every shovelful she throws into the truck bed. By sunrise, she's hauled 1/2 ton of shell fragments home, more than she thought her old truck could carry. It's a start. It's the first thing that's felt like a real start in months. Nights now, she sits at the kitchen table with library books stacked up to her elbow, reading by lamplight long after the rest of the house has gone dark. Calcium carbonate, soil pH buffering, organic amendment ratios, words Thomas would have known instantly, words she is teaching herself now, 1 page at a time, at midnight, with a pencil worn down to a stub. Crushed shell, she learns, can raise pH and rebuild structure in depleted coastal soil, but only if it's processed the right way, not thrown on raw, ground fine, composted slow, patiently, over weeks. She fills a notebook with ratios and rough sketches, circling one line twice. 6 months, maybe less, if this actually works. Outside, the pile of shells waits in the dark like a promise she hasn't kept yet. The wood chipper screams through shell after shell, grinding them down to a coarse powder inside the barn Thomas built for something else entirely. Years ago, before any of this. Eleanor works alone most days now, dust settled into her hair, her hands blistered raw from the work. Then the storm comes. 3 days of hard rain turn her carefully drying piles into grey sludge, washing weeks of effort down into the ditch beside the road, while she watches from the porch, unable to stop it. She stands out in the downpour afterward and doesn't move for a long moment, soaked through, staring at what's left. This is the part of every story that never makes the highlight reel. The low point, the almost quitting, the moment nobody films on purpose. If you've ever kept going after something you built got wrecked by circumstances outside your control, you already know exactly how heavy that silence felt for her. Stories like hers rarely get told all the way through, and they only get made because people like you choose to watch, to share, and to stick around for what happens next. She wipes her face, picks the shovel back up, and starts again. The developer calls again in October, offering more money this time, enough to disappear entirely and start over somewhere easier. Eleanor looks out at her half-finished rows of amended soil, still grey in patches, but noticeably darker now at the edges, richer somehow than it was in spring. "No," she says, "just that, nothing more to add." Harold doesn't understand, not really, not yet. Nobody quite does. But she's seen with her own eyes what months of stubborn, unglamorous work can start to change, and she isn't willing to bury any of it under a parking lot for a check that would only solve today's problems. For the first time since Thomas died, she isn't just surviving the farm anymore. She's fighting for it, on purpose, with her whole chest. Spring arrives, and with it, something Eleanor hasn't seen on this land in 3 long years: earthworms. Dozens of them, threading steadily through soil that used to be little more than lifeless, compacted clay. She kneels right there in the dirt just to watch them move, laughing quietly to herself, a little disbelieving that any of this actually worked. Her half-acre test plot of tomatoes comes in heavier and greener than anything the farm has produced since Thomas was still alive to see it. Neighbours slow their trucks on the road just to look. The soil test results this time read almost nothing like the ones from Harold's visit: balanced pH, rich organic matter, life quietly returning by the handful. It isn't a miracle, not really. It's oyster shells, patience, and a woman who simply refused to quit. Word travels fast in a small coastal town. Delia from the next farm over asks to try a bag of Eleanor's amended soil on her own struggling row, half out of curiosity, half out of desperation, and it works there too. Then come the calls, one after another: a nursery, a landscaper, a small organic grocer 2 towns over, asking if she can supply them regularly. Eleanor names it Brookside Organic Soil, right there at her kitchen table one evening, and starts filling real orders by the following spring. She hires 2 local men to help with the grinding and bagging, people who needed steady work as much as she needed extra hands. The farm that almost got sold off entirely is now quietly feeding 6 families instead of just 1. Golden light spreads slowly across all 18 acres now, rows thick and dark and unmistakably alive, nothing at all like the grey, tired ground Harold once stood on and shook his head at. Eleanor kneels down and presses her palm into the soil one more time, the exact same way she did that first cold morning at the fence line when none of this seemed possible. "We did it, Thomas," she says quietly, to no one in particular, and to him. Brookside Organic Soil now supports a small cooperative of local growers, all of it built from what everyone else had simply thrown away and forgotten about. If her story reminded you that it's never too late to rebuild something, your ground, your work, or your life, that's exactly why stories like this one get told in the first place. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Join us for the next journey, and let's keep finding the value the world left behind, together, one story at a time. The sun rises fully now over Brookside Farm, warm and unhurried. Some things, it turns out, grow back stronger than they ever broke.